Yo, Natsu here. Back again for part 3 of What If Deku Could Learn. So, last part I ended it with saying that, I didn't remember the names of most of the guild members, since literally all the names, except for Kuali and Valak, were chosen by the other people who helped me. I looked at my things and actually, except for the guild master, the receptionist, Valak, and basically 4 others, plus an extra one that will come in way later because he's a member of the guild but isn't there most of the time. The rest won't actually be mentioned again, so I won't even try to say their name or try to remember them. So, going for the names of the, Guildmaster and the 4 others that are important. The Guildmaster's name is actually Odin, which, yes, I know is the name of God, but no, he isn't one. It's literally, I didn't choose his name. Sorry if people think, oh, but he has the name of a god, he needs to be a god. No. It's only because most of his powers are, pretty much just related to either enhancing himself, looking at others' powers, or actually locking or increasing the magic of other people. So, basically, he is pretty powerful and is the reason why he is the guildmaster. But the 2 people that actually brought Deku on the boat, sorry about that, were, one who has red hair and has a lot of muscle and is basically 6.5 feet tall. So literally a giant, nearly. With his name, actually, he is the son of the guildmaster, with his name actually being Frost. His magic is not related to ice, which is actually hilarious, but basically his mother had chosen his name, thinking that, oh, I will train him at ice magic. But that didn't happen, and instead the magic he has is actually wind and earth magic, so his name doesn't make a lot of sense. The other one is a bit shorter, only at 5'9", 5'9", with black hair and actually has a beer belly. And his name, I think the name he was given was something like Toby or Tony, one of those 2. For the 2 people left, it's actually one girl who is named Alicia and a younger girl. Basically, Alicia is an adult, not saying her actual age simply because, and the other girl is actually her daughter, and is named... Seriously? Another car? Give it a second. Okay, sorry about that. But the name of her daughter, which is the only other member that will be important. No, not because of a ship. She's actually 5, so far from being a ship for Deku. She is Veroni. Their magic are, the mother, Alicia, actually has star magic, which, put it simply, is basically light magic, healing magic, as well as extremely powerful destructive magic. While her daughter is training in magic but doesn't have a lot except for, well, partial transformation magic that she's able to do. That came from her father, who isn't with them anymore. I'm going to shop there. But yeah, basically, for now, all she's able to do is basically like change her hands or change her size a bit, but not very much more than that. She can also change the color of her hair, but yeah, that's basically the limits for now. She really doesn't have enough magic. Though she has more than Deku at actually having 12. But yeah, the other members won't actually be referred to a lot, except basically when doing some roll calls, which I'm mostly going to pass since there's only going to be 2. And yeah, that doesn't really matter a lot. So yeah, now that the names are, well, placed, basically, the guildmaster had just asked Deku to come down for him to basically present people and then place, well, a marking on Deku, basically saying, oh yeah, he's from that guild. That marking actually sends back basically life signs to, well, the guild. Basically, the guildmaster has a special item that basically gives the marking. If one of the members dies, that mark basically disappears, send back a relay to, well, the item that made the mark, basically saying where the member died, as well as, well, saying that he did die, so that they can at least try to go find its body to try and at least have a proper funeral. But yeah, the marking that they put for being guild depends on the guild. Basically, think like in Fairy Tail for those, basically, with the name of the guild, and then having an image basically representing it, kind of. Which for them is Bright Crow. Basically, well, Bright Crow, Shining Crow, one of the two, I don't remember perfectly. But yeah, basically it's a bird in front of a sun. So that's what they have for a marking and for the guild name. They asked Deku where he wanted to have his mark, with Deku basically thinking that, yeah, if he goes back to his world with that mark, it would be a bit weird, let's just say it like that. So, where could he put it? Basically, in the end, he just kind of decided to put it on his left, well, on his back at the top left, and basically thought, I have to find a way to hide it at one point. Basically so that people don't see it and then think, wait, you have a tattoo? Aren't you young for having one? So, yeah. Though if he did come back with it, his mom and Bakugo would understand that, oh, it might have been something that happened there. So, yeah. He isn't bothered by it, like, too much for normal situation. But for people who don't understand that, oh yeah, he's going to other places, it might be, like, weird for them. So, Deku basically has it placed there, which, because of his clothes and power, it's actually partially visible most of the time. Like, a bit of the mark of the sun, like, showing near his neck. Basically, the mark is around... What could I take as an example? Give me a second here. Because that thing is basically telling me I have too much in my phone. But yeah, basically to explain the size of it, think of let's think of something everybody would have known, or at least seen once. I have nothing. Oh, if I find an example, I'm going to say it later. But yeah, it's not that big. It's just that where it was placed on Deku, basically it's more closer to the middle of his back. Hello, kitty. Sorry about that. And basically, where they placed it, it's close enough to where his shirt stopped covering his neck that it's actually seeable. Deku simply accepted it and basically went with it, as if he had anything else to do before actually being able to take quests, with the guildmaster just telling him that, well, he has to choose one, check on the map, see if his rank is high enough, and then he can take the quest. Basically saying that, oh, you can take requests from one level above you and hope that it's okay. Though because of, well, regulation on guilds, he has to start at level E. Well, rank E. So there's not a lot of stuff. Deku basically just kind of thinks about it, goes look at the things, and basically just grabs two of them, asking if he can take those two, which, when the guildmaster looks at them, he just kind of laughs a bit. Deku asking if there's something wrong. With the guildmaster, I'm going to call him that instead of Odin, simply because I prefer guildmaster, and that Deku would just call him guildmaster instead of Odin as well. But yeah, basically, he just says that, well, those quests are normally taken by people who know they're going to be away for a while, since those monsters that he's going to hunt normally don't show up that often. Deku saying that, well, there's only 5 of each that he needs to kill, with the guildmaster saying that, well, unless he's lucky beyond belief, it will at least take him a week just to get there, depending on how fast he can go, and hunt at least one, because they are really good at hiding, and since they live in massive forests and can normally control some type of plant magic, it can be hard to find them. They could just saying, yeah, well, at least, well, as long as I don't destroy the forest, it's going to be fine if I find them, right? With the guildmaster just telling him that, well, he can destroy a bit of the forest as long as he doesn't destroy too much of it. Since obviously fighting can destroy stuff, so just to limit himself. Deku saying that he's going to take them then, since he was trying before to actually, well, use one of the multiple capacity for, well, Nen. Basically explaining that there's 4 core principle and then 6 different types of it, with one of the principles actually allowing you to feel the presence of others. And that as long as he's able to use that and find others, anything alive, it shouldn't have any problems. The guildmaster basically telling him good luck, showing him on the map exactly where it is. Basically, after that, telling him in which direction he needs to go. Deku basically starting to leave. Valak basically telling him that he's going to follow him to try and help him if any problems arrive. With Deku just kind of activating Nen. Basically, directly once outside the guild. The guild master trying to stop her. Until basically they just see Deku like burst from the ground straight up with his wings. And basically just kind of unleashes nearly a sonic boom while leaving. Scaring a few people in town, but mostly making Valak see two things. He's fast, and most likely strong as well. Basically asking the guildmaster how much power does he has. With the guildmaster just saying that, well, 2 magic. We don't know the classification for, well, that thing he calls an N. But his mind is above 400, and all of his other stats except for 1 are above 200, with strength being in that. Wait, no, I think 2 stats are under 200, but the rest above them. Above that, so basically saying that he should already be close in the high rank D, but it's mostly his skills that are impressive. Over 20 of them. With her just kind of saying that, well, she saw for the wings, the tail, and the ability to fly. Then for the language learning 10, that makes 4, but what other skill does he have? With him just saying that, well, body boosting for both strength and defense. Body boosting for, well, no, not body, sense boosting for every sense is in his body, which basically instead of being 5 different skills is actually 1, being all sense boost, which is more surprising for her than anything, because that means he was able to unlock at least all 5 of them to level 2. Asking at what level that is, him saying that, well, it's actually at level 2. So quite high if you think about it. Then him just saying that for the rest, it's actually pretty impressive that I wasn't able to see them completely. It actually looked like something was not working, or as if he was able to hide them. Which, it's not that. It's literally that the other powers, because they work specifically with Nan only right now, instead of being able to be used with magic, since he didn't use any of the other things with magic yet in his body. Basically, yeah, the system is trying to kind of find what they are, but is having trouble since, obviously, if he didn't use them with magic yet, the system can't actually pinpoint what they are. Even though he can see the quirks, Nen ability, and skills, well, Deku can see that. The others can only see skills. So, yeah. Though he says that one last thing was there, which he had never seen before. Something called learning, which didn't have a level next to it. With a few people hearing that, mostly Tony and Quali. Basically, Quali just saying that, well, she's going to go look in the library, with Tony saying that he's going to go help her. Basically because those two are the ones that normally spend the most time in there. So, if there's a book about skills, they know where it is, and they can find it pretty fast. Quali actually has speed reading level 2, so at the same level as Deku, while Tony only has it at level 1. So basically, well, I've just forgot to say that Guildmaster also said about the speed reading, thought acceleration, and multiple mind stuff, but saying that the rest wasn't seeable, basically. But yeah, for Deku right now, what he's doing is actually trying to absorb more magic. Trying to basically create, well, think of the waves of a magnet. Basically, sending out some waves and reabsorbing them later. Basically to make a magnetic field, but instead of being, well, magnets, it's pure magic, trying to actually bring more magic towards him and absorb it in his body. He knows that to actually increase a stat, he needs to use it, but because of his magic only being at 2, he doesn't know how fast he could actually, well, boost. So, basically what he decides to do is, on the way there, which, like the Guildmaster said, would normally take a week to go there and find only one of those monsters. But that's basically like, oh yeah, you arrive there in 3 days if you use one of the magic vehicle. On foot, it's basically more like a week entirely, depending on how fast you go. And depending on the other ways of transportation, it can go faster or slower. But Deku basically reaches there in less than 2 days. Because being in the sky and flying is a lot more, well, relaxed. Also, instead of coming down to rest, he just goes into the Nexus Zone. So basically, making no time passes while he rests. And while he's in there, basically bringing once again more magic, while leaving, well, the massive amount of airs that before it was bringing with it. And also, since now it already has magic in it, instead of just removing all magic from the areas, it basically just takes a large portion of it, but with leaving some of it there. Basically allowing it not to do the same type of, well, bug that it did firstly. I'll just call it a bug because, well, it's easier to do. But yeah, so while he's there, basically what he does is try to use some magic. Basically trying to use the wing skill with magic instead of his, well, natural power, natural strength, and his Nen. So basically, instead of just multiplying the cells in his bag by his own strength, like he was doing before, he tries to create them with magic. Which basically, he tries to start forming them, and with 2 magic only, he basically reaches 0 when they're not even formed yet. Starts to absorb magic, raising it by 1 or 2, does it again, and basically looking at his status at the same time, seeing that basically what it takes him to actually do stuff, like to form the wings, he needed to concentrate for like an entire 5 minutes just to be able to push away everything else, to just use magic, which only raised it by 1 when he absorbed more magic. Then tried it again, doing the same process over and over, raising his magic all the way to 10. Basically, in around an hour while in the Nexus Zone, him being happy with the development, being a lot less, well, exhausted now, going back outside, Basically, if anyone had seen him, what it would have looked like was him getting exhausted, suddenly disappearing for like a flash, and suddenly being back and being able to fly like he didn't have any problem for a lot longer. And basically, what he was doing was just, I fly for like an hour, then go back into the world of door, which I'm going to stop doing that, basically just calling it the Nexus Zone, even though he doesn't know it yet. But yeah, basically going back into the Nexus Zone, doing the same thing for an entire hour, going back out, and basically just doing that again and again. So people just kind of see bursts of 1 hour where he flies normally, suddenly just for a millisecond disappear and reappear, then continue. So, yeah. That would be if people were looking at him, which Valak is trying to do but isn't able to find him, using a magic item which is called the Seeing Eye. Basically, as long as you know who the person is, you can normally track them in a certain radius, depending on your own amount of magic. Which her amount of magic is actually over 600, so she can look pretty far. Basically think 1 point of magic can bring you 500 meters. So, 300 kilometers for her to see. And the only reason she's not able to lock on Deku isn't because he passed it already. Like, that shouldn't happen, since normally magic vehicles can do about 50 kilometers per, well, depending on the speed you actually use. But when they calculate the distance, they actually use the normal speed that people use, which is around 100 meters per day, on 100 kilometers per day. Which, yes, isn't that big, if you think about it. But that's only because that's the normal speed that everyday people uses. The forest, though, is actually calculated in the speed that a normal magician can use, which is closer to 100 kilometers per hour, so like a car for us, which is a lot faster, let's just say it like that, because they have a lot more magic to spare, so they can put a lot more. Then if you count her precisely, she could actually push it to 200 if she needed to, which is a lot faster. But Deku, he actually passed the 300 marks in less than an hour. That's his speed with his wings and using men. So she wasn't able to see him simply because he went way too far. Though even someone else basically thought that he wouldn't be that fast and only thought he would be able to go as fast as, well, a car for a normal magician. So, well, magic car for a normal magician. So they were basically asking themselves what it was. The guildmaster decided to basically help them and look for Deku, using nearly all of his magic, which is actually in the 2000. Being 60 years old and using all magic almost every day, his magic rose pretty far. Though that's not a lot of magic when you count people who actually use his item, or people who are able to do like Deku and actually absorb magic from the outside by just thinking of doing it instead of letting it happen naturally. Those people can have a lot more. Though compared to other people, he also didn't actually use it for battle every day, so it wasn't rising as much as it could have. Since some magicians that are around 30 years or such can actually have above 3 to 4,000 and use massive spells. And basically using all of his magic, which he checked basically like 2 hours after Deku left, he found Deku literally near 600 kilometers away. Basically just making like everyone just almost shit their pants because of his speed. With Valak just thinking that it shouldn't be possible. He's too young to be going that fast, and even if he can substitute magic for other things, it shouldn't be that powerful. With the Guildmaster using his magic eye to try and see once again, well, at Deku's stats, because, yeah, that's weird. Even if he can boost his, body. Looking at his stats, with seeing that, oh shit, when his wings are out and that he's using his body boosting for speed, defense, and strength, he nearly doubles all of his stats, with his speed actually being tripled because that's the one he trained the most. As well as saying that his magic rose already. With someone saying that, wait, but how would it raise that fast? People have trouble raising it by 1 a day. And he already rose it by 2 while in the cabin. With the Guildmaster just saying, yeah, well, it's already at 22. With most of them just looking at him crazy and like, are you serious? Until one person arrives, being Quali, saying that she didn't found about any skills called learning, but she has found one which could be something similar, which is actually something that increases stats at a higher speed over time, while basically either using or trying to use stuff. So basically saying that he might actually be trying to use magic right now. Basically she had heard what the Guildmaster had just said, and basically saying that he might actually be trying to use magic right now, with the Guildmaster saying that, yeah, but in 2 hours that shouldn't be possible. Until he, basically the only one with Valak who were able to see it, Deku disappearing for a few seconds, and his stats having increased again. Well, only his magic stats. With him actually realizing that something else is going on. And basically saying it right there that he disappeared, right? Asking Valak, who said that, yeah, she saw him just disappear for a second. Well, not even a second. Basically then him saying that his stats, well, magic stat increased again. With her asking if that could be something that actually does it. With the Guildmaster saying that, well, if he had learned teleportation, he might also know of something else. Basically saying that that might be what he was trying to do before. And without magic in his own body might have been troubling. And now having magic in his body might actually be able to do it. Since, from what they think, Deku was trying to use Magic Stone for a spell that was supposed to be teleportation to go somewhere safe, quote unquote. And that he might now be able to use it to train, but he only has a limited time, while not aging for people outside. Which, yes and no, it doesn't count magic in it, but yes, he uses it to learn. Though yes, he is going way too fast at the speed he's going, with them thinking that he's actually going to get magic sickness, which is basically when someone is basically given too much magic over time, or basically increases too fast. Basically asking for, well, Frost to actually go look for, well, a certain magic user in town. Basically saying that they'll need his magic to actually try to stop the kid because his magic is increasing too fast. Frost basically going for it directly because obviously, yeah, his stats are high, but if magic sickness can happen, and even worse where he's going, they think he might be in trouble. Even though he's basically about to actually get to the forest already. Well, not already, but basically they know that if they let him go faster, it might get troubling. Since instead of 3 days, he's basically only taking, well, nearly 2 days, if not less than 2 days. And since his magic rose that much, yeah, they want to stop him before anything happened. Which Deku actually started to feel said magic sickness and basically stopped trying to raise it for now. Because he didn't know what it was about, but basically he just thought that he's starting to feel sick and that it might be because of him using, well, increasing his magic by a large amount, and decided to just stop for now, thinking to himself that he's going to try it again, but at a slower pace next time. And basically just kept going back into the zone, but this time instead of training his magic to basically absorb more magic over time, he was just trying to use the wings themselves. Basically, they take 15 magic to use, so he creates them with magic and tries to just leave them on and control them like that. Yes, in a zero gravity zone, just because he doesn't know if it will change the way he controls it. Sorry. But yeah, basically just seeing if there's any difference. And yes, there's a big one. Without it, those wings being literally made from his cells, so having nerves, bones, and stuff like that, they're a lot less weighted and move a lot faster. Well, not a lot faster, but basically they don't move in a precise way like his wings, and instead just move to try and push you faster in a set direction, which takes a lot of magic to control and to fly with, because, well, obviously you don't want to just hit a wall just after starting flying. Which is when Deku tries to then incorporate Nen into it, which nearly makes them explode because of the two powers basically, well, not being that much compatible the first time he tries it. Basically just pushing each other away, trying to control the wings themselves. So yeah, basically he reappears outside, a bit hurt, but not having any problems, obviously thanks to his regeneration, and basically having his clothes still intact, basically since now all the clothes he wears are just made of Nen. So like he creates weapon, he basically creates his own clothes. Though he does have other clothes that he does wear that aren't made of Nen, but that he reinforces with Nen. So yeah, basically Deku tries to always train. So that's for his Nen, basically having it nearly 24/7 being made. so that he doesn't actually need to wash them, he just needs to make them disappear, reabsorb the Nen, and just change clothes. Though when he does use normal clothes, he does need to wash them, obviously. But yeah, so his clothes weren't destroyed, and even if they were, he would have just made new ones. Damn. But yeah, so Deku just kind of start flying again. This time, the Guildmaster, seeing that he didn't raise his magic, thinking that he might have either hit a limit, or that what he's doing is actually trying to learn to increase his magic, and it isn't actually him having more magic, but just having more absorbing magic from outside in his body, thinking that it might be that and that it shows in his stats. Hoping that it's that because, yeah, he's just thinking if he's able to increase his magic this much, it could be dangerous for him. And basically thinking that it might also be a good way of training, though. Well, not him. Basically, Tony saying that it might actually be a good way of training, basically absorbing more magic than your body can use, and controlling it until your body is able to have that much. Saying that he might be trying to do that, and that when he comes back it might have worked, and basically hoping for it to be real. Which Deku, every time he comes back out of the Nexus Zone, he always feels the chill and knows that someone might be watching him, but by this point he doesn't really cares, just thinking that nobody would have eyes fast enough to actually see me disappear that far, for that little time. Basically, the first time someone had actually seen him disappear, it was actually a teacher that had, well, a quirk to actually accelerate her mind. So, basically able to see and react to stuff a lot faster. So basically that's the only reason she was able to see Deku do that. Because like I said, he only disappears for so little time that someone's brain would just erase it normally, thinking that, oh, it's just them who... it's just the eyes that didn't show the right thing. So, yeah. Basically, he didn't think that anyone would actually be able to see that. And basically just keeps going. With this time, like I said, not absorbing more magic. Basically, just doing the same thing over and over again this time. Creating the wings, trying to incorporate Nen into it. And it failing. Until basically 8 hours later, when Frost actually brings the old man who has a teleportation magic, which can actually lock onto something and then bring it back, or send someone to a specific place. And then, since obviously by this point not even the Guildmaster can see Deku, they can't actually use it to actually find Deku and bring him back, but they can send someone to the forest. Valak trying to basically say send me, with the Guildmaster sending someone else, being the receptionist, who is actually strong. Basically saying that she would have an easier time. Basically saying that with her special magic, which is called field control, as well as her magic to actually use plants to attack or to find people, it's a lot easier for her. Sending her to the forest to wait for Deku, basically thinking that, he's going to arrive the next day. Well, 2 days after he left. Basically the magic user, the teleportation user asking why they actually needed him that badly, if that person could get there, well, only that at that time. With the Guildmaster actually explaining how they are seeing things, with the kid actually able to absorb magic from the environment, putting it in his body, so overfilling himself, increasing his stats probably temporarily, and basically could be making magic sickness. Or do that and increase his magic stat by forcing his body to learn to have that much, or at least a certain proportion of it. Basically the magic, well, the teleportation user thinking that it's actually a good idea to do that with a limitation, and asking what was his magic before he actually started doing that. With the Guildmaster saying his magic was at 2, now it's at 34. With the magic, the teleportation user just saying that, wait, and he wasn't passed out yet? With the Guildmaster saying that, no. Though he did seem to try and stop absorbing more magic. So, they basically sent her there so that she could start going towards where Deku is, to find him before he gets to the forest for if something bad is happening. Basically, that's the only reason they asked for him that fast. Which he did send her there, obviously, and then said to call him back when, well, the girl arrives, because he won't be able to actually bring her back unless it's in a place where he can see or feel her. So basically sending someone that far is hard for him unless someone can actually see them. Either using magic to see people or stuff like that, but yeah. So basically sending Quali to... I once again almost said koala. Damn, that's going to be troublesome for me. And it's me who came up with her fucking name. Anyway, they basically send her to the forest where Deku was supposed to go. And basically, she just started going towards where Deku should be coming from. Which Deku at one point did decide to basically go to the ground because of seeing, well, something weird from above. Basically, while he was in the sky, he was looking down and actually saw some type of pattern on the ground, which looked like a magic spell that he had actually seen in one of the books that he read. It is a type of summoning circle or quote-unquote banishing circle. Basically either brings something towards it or sends it to somewhere else. Basically it's the same pattern but used for different things or for both of them. So like going from one place to another and able to keep using it to go back to that place, or vice versa. So, Deku basically looks at it and sees 3 parts that aren't complete, and basically decides to try and see if he can fix it. Basically thinking that, oh, it might actually be something someone tried to use at one point, and just trying to see if he could use it. Obviously could be a very bad idea if it's to bring something and that it was basically broken to keep that thing away. Luckily for Deku, when he fixed it, all that happened was a massive light that basically absorbed him into it, bringing him, well, in the middle of a massive room with torches basically lighting up once he arrived, eliminating a great part of the room, but not all of it. While looking around, what he saw, well, firstly was writing on the wall, which his language translator translated automatically, both the written part and making him able to speak it. And that language is a lost language that nobody should even know about. So yeah, Deku basically just starts reading, and hearing the year, well, seeing the year in one of the books, at one point basically saying that it was written in, that time, and seeing that it was an old book, basically from 2,000 years after what the writing on those walls is saying him they're from. So he knows that this is old. Like, way old. So basically just him reading everything, which was long, and basically told about, well, an ancient civilization, not the race that made the Nexus Key, no, a race from that world, which basically had tried to create different magics and created a lot of them, with some of the spell being basically shown with the pattern for the magic circle, as well as some that don't actually require any, or basically only requires you to do it once, activating it and then using your own magic constantly to basically keep them active. One of them actually being something that Deku sees and is very interested about. Yeah, we're talking about magic here, so obviously an item box or something like that is needed for Deku. He reads around and actually sees that, the spell basically becomes kind of its own little dimension, where you can house, from the amount of magic points you have, basically, it will make more slots, but from the amount of items per slot that you can that you can put, depends on the magic you had at the moment you open it for the first time. Basically making Deku think, well, I'm going to wait before activating that one. But keeping it in mind. After that, seeing a weaker version that is actually still used around, but only by people who have incomplete versions. So example would be someone who's able to keep weapons in a separate place, bring them to him, but only having a certain amount of spots, and not being able to come to increase it more. Or stuff like, able to keep living things in a box for a temporary time, and needing to bring them back out at another point. Basically, this is, well, he actually sees 4 different types of magic for that thing, with basically only being able to read those 2. With the other 2 actually being incomplete, with the wall having crumbled. Crumbled. So he's not able to see the 2 others, thinking to himself that it's a bit sad since he can't actually use them. Mostly saying that one of them is to create an entire dimension that will depend on your magic for how big it is. So just thinking that if he could have that, he could make another world where he could train. But yeah, he won't have that. For now. Though luckily for everyone, yeah, he won't have it until... Well, yeah, he will have it. Fortunately for everyone, it's only going to be way later that I'm going to make him able to actually use that. Because obviously, it would be tough on most people. Well, mostly for him, Simply because the magic in itself creates a world, basically creates an item actually that the person creates, that basically by the amount of magic they have will increase the size of that world. Which one day that person dies, the world starts to increase by itself by absorbing magic ambiently or creating magic in itself from the living creatures that are there now, making entirely new world simply from, well, someone's magic. Sorry about that, there was another cat. And I really love cats. Oh, 2 more cats there. Sorry. But yeah, so basically, Deku's going to have that at one point. Where, no, he won't be able to put people in it, then bring them to he can bring things inside of it that are alive, but when going to another world, he cannot bring them outside in that world. Basically, still keeping the rules that no living creature from any given world can go to another one if they don't have a Nexus key. But if he was to bring, well, just like for the Nexus key, if he was to kill something, bring the corpse back to another world, that's possible. So he could bring stuff inside of that world, let them live for God knows how long, get out of that world with corpses of those in different worlds that where they come from, and basically keep it like that. He could also do something else, which is basically bring unborn creatures, so like an egg that is fertilized from another world to another world. Basically, since it's not alive yet, it can pass the boundary. But normally, since he would be able to do that, if, well, basically, the creature needs magic to live, no matter where else he brings it, it will die since it doesn't have enough magic. Though his body will create magic, basically filling his own world with magic over time, but it won't be enough for anything for a few thousand years. So, yeah, that doesn't change anything. Just like if he were to bring a chicken egg from his world to the world with magic, over time, while developing, the magic would imbue the egg, make it grow different, and basically creating something that has magic. But then it wouldn't be the same type of chicken because, well, it's different. But yeah, you get what I mean at least, right? But yeah, so for him, oh yeah, if you think this part I'm basically just keeping it long like this when I said that, oh yeah, it was going to be divided in 3 parts, it's actually just because this part was specifically for him to find what he's about to find, but with different other stuff happening, with him actually leaving way earlier than a year. Actually, he's only spending he wants to stay a year there, but he's only going to spend like a month. Basically because of something that he's finding right now. So he's going to go back to the guild for a few days, go back for another quest, do stuff, come back to the guild saying he was going to be gone for a bit, going back to his world, doing some stuff, and going to another world. So yeah, basically, the only reason I'm doing that right now is because what he's finding in this, while still looking at the walls, is that what he is doing right now could be considered bad. Because his body is basically absorbing more magic than it should, basically taking it from the world in a way that shouldn't be happening, reducing the world's amount of magic. So he's basically going to wait until he's able to control magic better before coming back. That's what is happening around right now. Because the reason that ancient civilization died is actually because they were doing the same thing as what he's doing. Basically absorbing magic and removing in the areas where he's taking it from an amount of magic that will take a while to come back, depending on how much you take. Basically from him only taking like... Seriously! That's a fucking car! That sounded like a fucking bike! What kind of fucking motorbike thing do you want to have when you're in a car? Oh right, I forgot. Even though I'm a guy, but I don't like cars, but still, men like cars that make sound. And human thinks that, oh, if nothing's happening, or no sound is happening, well, something is broken, which is completely dumb because that makes computers, video games, and other stuff like that basically slower to actually charge, which is dumb. Sorry. I am already pretty stressed right now, so I'm trying to relax, doing my videos, but I'm having trouble, as you can see. So, like I was explaining, Deku basically isn't taking enough magic to actually do problems right now. But that civilization, most people in it actually had around, well, nearly 10,000 in magic points, well, magic stats, and basically absorbing about that much every time they needed to use more magic, because the spells they were using were really not made to actually save up on them. They were creating magic that had the most power possible, and then just absorbing the excess magic that they lost back from the world. Basically removing too much magic from the world when you count a civilization that could have above 10,000 people. Basically, if every single one of them per day uses 3 spells that use at least half of their mana, they take per person 10,500 points from the world each, which would reduce its amount of magic by a huge amount. So basically, Deku's just thinking that it might happen to him and doesn't want to stay there for too long to not basically do it. Though the world basically now is able to counter it against a few people doing it, so Deku shouldn't actually have any problems, and even less at the amount that he's actually taking. But just to be on the safe side, he decides to wait until he's able to actually control magic. So basically, he finds 2 or 3 books that are almost completely all destroyed, except a few pages that he's able to see what's written on it, which are 2 or 3 other spells that are actually made to try and help you control your magic for one of them, hide your stats for another one of them, and the last one to literally hide yourself completely. Basically hide the magic you're sending out. So he can hide his Nen and life energy, and now he can learn to hide his magic as well. Which is actually going to do. Basically, when he sees that there's nothing else there except a weird crystal orb that he basically takes and basically just puts in his pocket for now. He basically goes back outside after staying there for like an hour or so, then starts going again, basically faster this time, trying to get back the time that he lost, until he actually finds Quali, who was going towards him. He saw her and basically got down to see her because, why are you here? I thought you were at the guild. with her saying that the guildmaster was observing him for, well, the first 1,000 kilometers, and actually saw his magic stat increasing way too fast, and saying that they asked her to come here to actually try to see if he was okay, because if he had magic sickness, he would need to be brought back. With him saying that he's fine, actually, and that he was just going to continue going towards where he needed to go. Quali telling him that, well, as long as he's fine, but she's going to stay with him, because if he starts to feel it, she's bringing him back to the guild instantly. And then asking him what he's actually doing to increase his magic. With him just thinking that saying that he's absorbing magic directly to just and instantly boosting his stats directly would be bad, and basically just said a thing that he didn't know they had thought he was doing, but basically said the same theory, basically saying that he's trying to put more magic in his body that he should be able to control, and leave it there, trying to keep it under control until he's able to control that much, with his stats increasing normally. Well, too fast for normally, but still making it stronger than what it should be. With her saying that, so they were right about that theory, and basically asking him to check his status to see how he is right now, after releasing his old magic. Deku basically tries to think of, well, she asks him to release the excess magic he has, not all of his own magic, so that he can actually see his real stats. Deku trying to basically think of, well, hiding his magic to not let out as much as he is right now, to basically hide the fact that, it actually just increased like that every time he did increase it, and basically tries to apply the same theory for how to hide Nen, and basically is able to do it, basically releasing a huge amount of magic and basically only keeping around 7 points, with basically saying that, while also remembering the last of the 3 spells, because I think I only said about an extremely strong spell to increase your own magic, and the spell to hide magic, but the third one is to hide your status completely, or at least make other people that see your status see it as less than it should be. So basically he was only trying for that one precisely, for magic, and was able to kind of do it, basically making her think that, so your magic did rise, but only by 5. Well, that's still impressive for only a day. Basically, she was going as fast as she could, using as much magic as she could use in that moment. Basically exhausting herself to meet Deku halfway at around the 1 day part. Basically, they didn't reach exactly in the middle. It's more like in the middle from where Deku was when she started walking towards where she was. So, really like a lot further than in the middle of the way from the city. With Deku basically just feeling her magic, basically applying every principle he has for Nen to, magic, to actually feel her magic and feel that she is really low on it. Basically asking her if she's okay, basically her saying that she just exerted herself a bit much trying to reach him before he actually got magic sickness, with her saying to Deku to not re-increase his magic that much if he's trying again, because it would be bad if he fell unconscious. With him asking if he could have her hand for a minute, her not understanding, but still doing it. With Deku actually applying the principle of absorbing magic in the air to fix his own magic, and basically passing it on to her. Her feeling her magic being all healed, with the magic in the air basically being absorbed towards Deku temporarily, then sent to her. With her actually impressed that he's able to do that. With Deku saying that he was actually trying for the first time. And that at the same time that he did that, he basically reabsorbed at least up until the same amount that he had back of magic, just saying that he was kind of able to control it, and that if he starts to feel anything weird, he's going to release it. Her accepting that answer, when in reality all he did was remove the limiter he had put on his magic for how people feel it, and basically went for the hunt, which he had to go slower because of Kuali. When he arrived, he basically did the hunt in 2 days before they actually started going back towards the city, which once again took longer because he needed to wait for Kuali. When they got back, basically with him near constantly refilling her magic and his magic while not actually going back to the Nexus Zone to relax, he basically took a lot more time this time. When they got back, the Guildmaster was feeling Deku's magic that was high, asked if he was okay, with Deku saying that he was fine, and me stopping it here because I'm literally at 2 or 3 minutes from home. So hope you liked it, leave a like if you did. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. In the next part, it's going to be basically Deku trying to learn a few magic from, the guild members I named. With the only 2 magic he's actually going to be able to learn being transformation magic at a lower amount, and Quali's plant magic. So yeah, after that he's going back to his world, but yeah, hope you liked it, leave a like if you did, Natsu, out!